Have you ever seen a movie where the antagonist just blows you away? You may be thinking Star Wars, the Breaking Baddies, Joker. Most of these characters have already been analyzed, and that's of course not a knock to the creators who have done this. That's invaluable work that helps fortify and understand the foundation of any great movie villain, and of course the films themselves. Throughout the mid-2000s, there were a lot of comedies. Year after year, comedies came out whether they were original creations, adaptations, or remakes. This is a part of our history, whether we like it or not. They defined generational humor, archetypes for the shirked yet lovable loser, and laid the foundation for directors like Todd Phillips to be taken seriously. I love these 2000s comedy movies deep down because they were, and are, fascinating models of pop culture. Like diving into an antiquated time capsule from only a few decades ago. They are art just as much as There Will Be Blood is, therefore, they should be analyzed as such. In 2006, Shake and Bake entered the English lexicon as a catchphrase, rather than a breadcrumb coating product. All thanks to Talladega Nights, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby. Shake and Bake! What is there to say about this film that hasn't already been said? It's funny, iconic, competently made, and comically acted. Oh, I love this part! Which is in fitting with the tone. I don't hear a lot of folks talking about Jean Girard, or his husband Gregory, who owns gay horses and trains German Shepherd. We need to talk about him, Jean Girard, not Gregory. He's an interesting and complicated villain despite his relatively short amount of screen time. Sacha Baron Cohen does a lot with him and makes him extremely memorable. On paper, Jean Girard is a pompous prick who serves as nothing more than a catalyst for Ricky Bobby's downfall, acting as a rival to the hero. Incorrect assessment upon further analysis. To put it into a relatable metaphor, there is more going on under the hood than the exterior would have you believe. This character is relatable on multiple levels because he questions a lot of the bullshit Ricky and Cal say to one another.
What does that mean?
Awesome.
Makes no sense, so it's shake and bake, it's nonsense.
This could be because he's a European, unfamiliar with America, but his reactions serve a comedic purpose in addition to characterizing him. We laugh at the absurdity of Ricky Bobby's statements. You ain't first, you're last. These commercial ad reads.
Baby, don't wanna know, boy.
Believing himself to be paralyzed, and of course, 8-pound, 6-ounce newborn infant Jesus who don't know a word yet.
He was a man. He had a beard.
This humor is expanded by other characters pointing out that a lot of what they're saying is nonsense as well. Girard's down-to-earth reactions humanize him as a fish out of water in the southern United States, a place that can be rife with homophobia. Despite being in unfamiliar territory, he doesn't let anything get the better of him, and he always tries to remain in control of himself. He basically doesn't take shit and is always himself. He is overcoming adversity in stride while also building a life for him, his husband, and the gay horses that they own. Of course he is cocky and vindictive at times, but he really only acts out when he is provoked, much like a skunk. It's a defense mechanism. If he is treated unfairly, he will react unfairly. Whereas Ricky Bobby is this way because he perceives himself to be the best, a person with no faults whatsoever and zero sense of camaraderie. The two are excellent foils for one another, which is what you want to see between the protagonist and antagonist. At times, Jean Girard is egged on by Dennett, who owns the racing team, but he has his own relatable motives. He has found himself to be the best at what he does, so he wants someone better to finally beat him at his own game. Many times, he offers opportunities for Ricky Bobby to back out and handle his own self-righteous attitude in a fair fight, but Ricky nearly always refuses. Girard is shown to be a physically apt foe despite his rather thin stature. I like to think that he developed a necessity for fighting due to facing adversity surrounding his attitude and sexual orientation. The film's story is a pretty simple tale of redemption, with a lot of crossroads and roadblocks along the way. The classic hero's journey for Ricky Bobby. Of course, Jean Girard isn't the only antagonist, and he comes across as a rather fair foe for Ricky Bobby, but to me he's the most compelling. He likes jazz, macchiatos, loves his husband, and is a beast behind the wheel. He's a French guy, you know? They gotta like macchiatos and Perrier. Naturally, with this film being a comedy, a majority of the characteristics for each character exist to make the audience laugh. That's obviously the main goal for a comedy. Talladega Nights succeeds in making the audience laugh. Whether intentional or not, the comedic characteristics created for Jean Girard ultimately make him an eccentric, yet realistic character that could exist outside the world of the film. It goes to show you can take a stereotype and turn it into a compelling and interesting character. I will say Jean Girard would not be as good a character if he was plucked as is from this film and placed into, say, Days of Thunder or Rush. He would get lost in the world of the film and he wouldn't stand out as well as he does here. In the end, Girard ultimately helps Ricky Bobby overcome biases and be real with himself, even if indirectly so. He exudes a sense of humility that is well hidden behind his egotistical front. He has no problem speaking his mind or doing what he wants for himself. He challenges the beliefs of what a NASCAR driver can be and should be, while also challenging the beliefs of those that rail against him. Surprisingly, I found this villain to be a standout among the aforementioned 2000s comedies. These movies, they end up being goofy, but there is a heart to them, which causes them to stand out in a diluted market. Plus, directors from this era went on to make Academy Award nominated and winning films, like Adam McKay, who made Talladega Nights. If you don't recognize that name, he made Vice, The Big Short, and Don't Look Up. There are other lesser known villains I will talk about in the future from this era of film, and others, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, and see ya.